Salisbury is a beautiful cathedral city in the historic county of Wiltshire, home to the likes of Stonehenge, Old Sarum, and even a rare copy of the Magna Carta. It's perfect for a cosy weekend break. In this travel guide, we're going to show you the best of Salisbury, including some top attractions and hidden gems. All around the city, you'll find these historic city gates. The most beautiful has to be the High Street Gate. This was built between 1327 and 1342, and it once housed a small lockup for those who had committed misdeeds within the close. And that brings us onto our next place. This is Cathedral Close. It's probably the most beautiful square in the city, and it's home to a few gems. Salisbury Cathedral Close lies around this central green, and it's actually the biggest close in England. Here you can see architectural styles ranging from the 13th to 20th centuries, meaning that a wander around this square feels like stepping through history. The Rifles, Berkshire and Wiltshire Museum is housed within the building behind me. Unfortunately, it's undergoing renovation and so it's not open, but it is due to open in 2026. There is one gem on the square that you have to visit, especially if you're a National Trust member, because that means it will be free, and that's Mompesson House. Mompesson House was built in 1701 for Charles Mompesson, a prosperous local MP. It's a fine example of Queen Anne architecture with elegant symmetrical design and original features like its oak staircase and elaborate plasterwork. You may actually recognise several of the rooms within the house because it was used as a filming location for the 1995 adaptation of Sense and Sensibility. During its time, the house passed through several families before being gifted to the National Trust in 1952. Today, it's furnished in 18th century style, showcasing period furniture and artworks. I think today we take a lot of modern conveniences for granted. For example, this toilet, which is known as a privy, was the only way to go to the toilet at the house until 1819. I can't even imagine how cold it must have been in the winter. The exterior of the house houses a small secret garden you can't actually see from the cathedral close. Within it, you'll find a delightful second-hand bookshop. Most of Salisbury Cathedral was built in the 13th century, though the spire was added in the 14th. Today is the highest spire in England. Salisbury Cathedral is also home to the world's oldest mechanical clock, which dates all the way back to at least 1386. The original cathedral was actually built some 2 miles away in Old Sarum, which we'll visit later in this video. Problems like overcrowding and water supply, as well as difficulty working with the nearby castle, meant that the clergy was eventually granted permission by the Pope to move the cathedral to the river valley below where it now stands. Local legend has it that the way in which a new spot was chosen was that the bishop fired an arrow and it hit a white stag. The spot in which the stag then died was selected to be the location for the new cathedral. Wandering through Salisbury Cathedral feels like stepping back in time. The foundation stone itself was laid on the 28th of April 1220, an event which is now depicted within its very own stained glass window within the cathedral. While the cathedral is an active place of worship still, it's always ever changing, and it was really nice to see some people partaking in medieval embroidery techniques. Included in the price of your ticket is a chance to see a rare copy of the Magna Carta, now housed within the chapter house. This great charter established the idea that not even the king is above the law of the land, and also put forward ideas about fair trial, due process, and individual rights. The cathedral also boasts the largest cloister in England. Built in the latter half of the 13th century, this serene space surrounds a peaceful green courtyard and was once used by monks for prayer, study, and quiet reflection. One of the nicest things about coming to Salisbury is that you have this high street which is full of independent shops. There's lots of eateries and boutiques here. Something that we're quickly learning about Salisbury is that independent shops are really important here. And so we've come to Ride Coffee and Moto. They have lots of different coffees and drinks. They also have some food options. And the most unique thing about this store is that it's actually housed within a former butcher shop.
Hello, my name's Jason Regent and I own Regent, the store in Salisbury, 3 floors, 7 rooms to explore, and we've been going for 20 years this year. My grandfather was the butler to Ian Fleming, so I had this great inspiration when I was younger, the guy that was almost shabby chic, always cashmere jumpers with holes in their arms, and he just taught me to buy well. One side of my brain is fashion and different, and I do like classic. I like Bond. And now my daughter works with me, which is great. And she brings in so many things, younger things in here as well, which I think we needed.
You've got so much interesting artwork on the wall. How do you decide what to put here?
Well, the artwork normally is someone that I've made something for, and they sometimes can't quite afford what I've got. And they say, I'll do a bit of art for you. So every bit of art is from a customer.
So it's the old-fashioned way, and it's a bit of bartering, a bit of getting to know people.
We definitely barter with art. It's like, and that's very special.
And what's this one of?
So this is it's a wild boar, and I had a repetitive dream that I kept waking up and a boar was at my eyes, and I woke up. And when he said, I quite like a suit, I went, well, I quite like this boar that was in my dreams. And so she looks at me everywhere I go.
And you've got some famous people on the wall too.
We just get very interesting people in. This guy was in charge of trying to find the money to put in to try and find the COVID injection. And the king said, can you come along and be knighted? And so he came to me to have a suit. So in theory, I've got an arm's length away from the king with my product.
That's amazing.
And the other guy here, I didn't believe that he was the Yankees baseball team, very famous guy. We used to call this the room with the view.
Wow, it's amazing. You see the spire. Wow.
Yeah, well, on a nice day, it's beautiful. Or if it snows, oh my God.
When someone comes in and says, I don't know my personal style, how do you even start with something like that?
Normally it starts off with a conversation with a wife has noticed that their husband has lost their way. Men get stuck in a rut as well, and we just try and help them be in the middle so they don't date, and age appropriate. Maybe you have an uncle or a father and before they know it, they're wearing a floral shirt. And I just don't think that's the right thing for them to wear. I think I'd rather be like Steve McQueen or Bond than Timmy Mallet. You have to find out who Timmy Mallet is.
Yeah,
it's from the past. Most of the time it's a 35, 40-year-old man that gets a bit lost. And he just come up to me and go, can you help me? I'll do the personal styling without them even knowing. But there's also the offer of if you want to book an appointment, and I offer them a beer or a whiskey, and we sit in the suite room downstairs, and I run around the shop and find them stuff. Go with what they can afford. You don't want to give them a £300 pair of jeans when their budget's £100. We do help a lot of men, and I think with mental illness, there's lots of men feel really, they struggle, especially my age, they struggle, and building their confidence up again is a really important thing for me. It makes them feel good, it makes me feel good, it makes their partner go, ooh, Image is an important thing.
And something that you told me before that I think is so interesting is you want to impress on people that you're not just a tailor, you offer so much more than that.
We want to be a mini department store. That's how we want to be described. So I love to have historic products. There's another product over here, which is, again, an iconic product. It's the Harrington,
Oh, it's really beautiful.
which is everyone from Bond to Marilyn Monroe to Steve McQueen has worn this. And we try and get, again, in this room, things that are English made, because it's quite important that people get English made stuff. Some people like the English products. The t-shirt here is a loop wheel. Manufacturers have forgotten these old machines and they're remaking stuff on a loop wheel. So loop wheel is it's a stronger material. So like on the seams here, there's no seams.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen that before.
So yeah, so it's made on this particular machine here. You can buy a very well-known brand on Bond Street for £150 that's made in a bad place. And we want to show people you can get something of very high quality for less than those brands. Yeah, it's ethical and it lasts well. And that's the vintage section. This used to be half a rail, now it's sort of a full rail. And because fashion has changed, there's much more people wearing lots of different styles.
Yeah.
There's not one style going one way. I mean, people, especially young people, can wear this. And I don't think it matters that people wear something that more what they like rather than following a style. I think that's happening a bit more with younger people.
I really enjoyed it earlier when we were talking and you were discussing how to care for the fabrics. I think that's such an important thing in sustainability as well.
Everything we sell, 90% of it has got nothing like plastic in. It's all natural fibres. And I'm a big lover of natural fibre. So a suit, for example, a wool suit. People think about this as dry clean it. Dry cleaning is not very good for fabrics. With my suits, I air them. I've got an equivalent of a Dettol spray that just kills the bacteria, because bacteria is the stuff that smells. So most people want to get stuff clean because it either smells or it's dirty. Going back to care of shoes, people have a tendency to wear one pair of shoes and they last a year. If you buy several pairs of shoes of high quality and wear them irregularly, like every other or twice a week, you're going to get much more out of that shoe than the guy that wears a shoe all the time. But yeah, it's just looking after your product. Don't wear it very often. Don't wear it the next day. Wear another product.
What's your favourite thing about living in Salisbury?
I lived here since I was 28. And the thing I like the most about Salisbury are the people. You can go to a local pub and there could be an earl there next to a guy that works on the farm and a guy that works in an office, and they all seem to talk to each other. There doesn't seem to be much snobbiness here, and I like that. More people down to earth. The good thing about Salisbury, you can get to London quite quickly, and the cathedral, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm in a special place when I go in there. Did you ever go into the cafe bit and the archway?
It's just
it reminds me of Italy, and I met my wife here, so that's special to me. And I wouldn't think of a better place for my children to be brought up. You've even got Marks and Spencers. You can even get your Marks and Spencers. Oh, that's a nice treat, isn't it? Percy Pigs. That's another reason I like Salisbury.
Well, thank you so much for showing us around. It's been really interesting.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon.
Thank you.
This is the Haunch of Venison, and with over 700 years worth of history, it's one of the oldest drinking establishments in England. Today you can come in and have a drink, but they also serve food. Once you get inside, there are several rooms to explore, all of which have timber frame ceilings. If you come here, then it's worth noting that this is reputed to be the most haunted place in Salisbury. There's lots of haunting references throughout, including this grisly hand. There's a whole explanation on the wall, but in short, the hand is said to be the mummified hand of a gambler who angered the local butcher. Aside from the cathedral, there are a few gems and top attractions in Salisbury worth checking out, and we're going to run through them now. Starting at this Paddington statue. This was unveiled in 2024 in October, and today you can sit next to it and have your photo taken with Paddington. Another monument on Fisherton Street is a Salisbury clock tower. This was funded by Dr. John Roberts in the 1890s as a memorial for his wife Arabella, who had died that same year. He basically told the council, if you can find a space for it, I will fund it. It's also located on part of the old city jail. The Church of St. Thomas was constructed during the 15th century on the site of a medieval chapel. It's best known for its iconic doom painting above the chancel arch. This fascinating piece was created between 1470 and 1500, making it the largest and most complex example of such a painting still surviving in the UK. In 1227, Salisbury was granted a market charter, and by 1307 you had the first recorded saying of the Poultry Cross, which is the name of the monument you see behind me. In the beginning, this would have just been a timber frame structure that would have protected poultry sellers from the wind and rain. The monument you see now probably dates back to the 15th century, though it was heavily restored during the 19th. On a hill to the north of the city, you'll find Old Sarum. This was the first iteration of Salisbury and was inhabited by the Normans, Saxons, and Romans. This was also the site of the first cathedral. Today, it lies in ruins, but you can still visit. It's an English heritage site, which means you have to pay if you're not a member, but it's definitely worth it to discover more about the history of Salisbury. The reason that Old Sarum has such important historical significance is because this is actually where, in 1086, William the Conqueror decided to summon all of the key leaders in the land in order to establish his dominance as the ruler of England. You'll often find it's the case that a lot of English heritage places lie in ruins or they're very, very old. Luckily, wherever you go, there are these interpretation panels that have an artist's impression of what the inside would have looked like back in the day, as well as some information about the history. It's quite likely that shortly after the Norman conquest, William the Conqueror decided Old Sarum should be his base. And so he decided to build a castle within the former earthenworks that had previously been used by the Romans and the Saxons and the Iron Age people, and he divided it into two parts. There's this inner section which would have been completely fortified, and then just outside there is the first cathedral of Salisbury. The first cathedral of Salisbury would have been constructed just down there. We can still see the layout now. It was built between 1075 and 1092. However, by the 1220s, relations had soured between the people keeping the castle and the clergy. And so the decision was taken to move the cathedral all the way over to what is now modern day Salisbury. Now you can see the ruins, read a bit about the history, and just enjoy the amazing views over the rest of the countryside. And the reason that all of this actually lies in ruins is because by 1514 it had been decided that this was not fit to be a castle anymore, and so Henry VIII actually gave the land to Thomas Compton in order to be mined for building materials. And that's why you don't see that many ruins left here. There are a few walls here and there, but there's definitely a lot of stones missing. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument that was erected at around 2500 BCE on Salisbury Plain. The thing is, no one knows quite why it was erected. It probably had a ceremonial or religious reason for it, and now it stands high on a hill overlooking the rest of the area. It's obviously one of the most visited places in the UK, and if you pay, then you can get quite close, although you're not allowed to touch the stones. The only way you can get really close is on midsummer solstice. You actually begin your visit to Stonehenge with a chance to explore the visitor centre. Here you can learn all about Stonehenge as well as the wider cultural landscape. You also have the chance to see how people would have lived in huts thousands of years ago. Although no one is quite sure why Stonehenge was built, the site itself comprises of a set of standing stones, arranged in a circle. The smaller blue stones were actually transported all the way from Wales, over 150 miles away. In a time before modern machinery, this was an impressive feat of engineering, and it's still unclear how people managed to do it. Even before the construction of Stonehenge, this area was used for millennia by people as a burial site, and so all around Salisbury Plain you'll find these tumulus and barrows, and these would have once been burial mounds. One of the largest stones that you can get really close to is the heel stone. This single large sarsen stone weighs more than 36 tons and is aligned to the summer solstice sunrise. So is a visit to Stonehenge really worth it? Well, I think it is worth it if you want to make a quick side trip from Salisbury, but if you're coming here just to see the stones, probably not, because a photo will suffice. As you can see, we're kind of far away, even on the bit that you pay for. And the thing is, it's £28 per person, which is a lot of money unless you're a National Trust member or an English Heritage member. And it does feel a bit like a Disneyland attraction where you're kind of shuttled in, shuttled out, and there's not really a lot of culture here. In order to leave the site, you have to, of course, go through the obligatory gift shop, and I was actually shocked at the amount of merchandise for sale. If you have more time while in the Salisbury area, and it happens to be during a select few dates when you're actually allowed to visit, then you can pay a visit to Imber. Once upon a time, Imber was a thriving village, a community with generations of the same family name living on site. That was until one fateful day in 1943 when residents received a letter telling them to pack up their belongings and leave the village for what was to be the final time. D-Day was swiftly approaching and the army needed a space to practice. Imber, with its lone location, cut off from the rest of the world, was chosen as the perfect place for the MOD to practice, with particular regards to the American Allied troops. The villagers were told to evacuate, with the promise that they would be allowed to return following the end of the war. They were given just 47 days to leave, informed one chilly winter's day in the village hall. Most tragically of all, most of the villagers left fairly peacefully, believing that they would be allowed to return following the war. Indeed, the Bell Inn continued renewing its license for 2 decades after the village was closed to the public. After the war, the villagers were never allowed to return, and now the village is only open for select days of the year, with the church being one of the only original buildings still standing. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more UK travel content. See you next week.